and you can add key value pairs to it. So you can just start noting something down, and then you type title, colon, and the title, type, and the type, and if you want to add some text to it. And of course, apart from these three elements, title, type, and tags, you can add any element you want. Like, I have the example of a talk here, of the Congress. If I have the idea I want to put down that it's taking place in the BCC, I can add a new slot for that. This is a very early screenshot. This is going to be an Eclipse plugin, developed in Java, of course. So what it does, it gives some color to it. You have the title here, the type, and the tags, and then all the slots you have in the node. And the idea of the AGIL information organization is that if you have a new idea for the slot, you don't have to go somewhere and add a database field or something. You can just enter a new slot there as it comes into your mind. And it will have some reflection modes, like if you, for instance, I've been on a conference and I took my notes for the single talks with this thing, and in each talk you have an idea for a new slot you might use, you want to note something special, you just do it, and after that you have a tool, I call it reflection tool because you reflect on what you have been done, which shows you which slots, which fields did I actually use for this type of node, and then you can decide, okay, this was a good one, this was an idea I used just once or actually never, and discard it again and develop the actual model of the nodes out of the experience you already have with those. So this is the idea of agile information organization I want to support with that. So we will have also for navigation some, if you know Eclipse, this is just a standard perspective in Eclipse, so you usually have some kind of hierarchical organization, might be type inheritance structure or whatever. And of course a table overview, which is common for problems or tasks in other Eclipse applications. For instance, showing you all the nodes for a certain type, or filtered by tags, etc. I got some more ideas. I started programming, and these are very far away ideas in the moment. I work also with a mind mapping tool, FreeMind. Some of you might know that, also Java open source software. It would be nice to integrate that, to have other means of creating a hierarchical structure, which mind mapping does. LaTeX export. I'm thinking about formatable text, but it clashes with the simple file format, even if you just put HTML in there. It's not as easy to edit. Possibly integration of other file types, pictures, etc. with links, and which is very easy with Eclipse to do extension points for custom exports, so it's easy to write and export with some Java classes. This is half a minute, right? Okay, so this is pre-alpha phase. I asked for a SourceForge project for it. It will be, as I said, Eclipse plugin. I decided for the MIT license, which basically can say do whatever you want, but I'm not, I forget the word. It was not my fault if something goes wrong. I have the domain tinboy.org. You find some information there. And please contact me. I really want to discuss this. Any contributions, questions, anything, contact me via this means. And I also have the event phone, I think 6339. 39.
Thank you so much for Tinboy. Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hast du Tinboy schon registriert? Die Domain? Okay. So, nicht, dass so ein paar Domain-Grabber hier sind. Right, next on our list. This is about the $100 laptop. So please get connected. And special greetings to the guys watching out there. My instant messenger tells me there's somebody out there. Actually, we planned for an IRC channel for you guys to comment on this stuff, so we can get instant feedback, log this, and yes, there's some more. If you do have feedback, please give it to me. We will show this later. I'm really looking forward to this. We have to improve. So it'll be 23c3 at guckus.net. So, you ready?
I am.
Here goes. 5 minutes.
Okay, so my name is Bert Freudenberg. I'm working in the OLPC project. Okay, in the OLPC project. This is one of the few hundred prototypes. There are actually at least 2 in this building. There's one more machine up at the Wikipedia booth where you can take a closer look. I just set it to running, I think. Okay, and then let's see if it boots in 5 minutes. So the OLPC project is actually about education. It's a project to get the possibility to get educated to the children of the world. There are a few countries that already agreed pretty much to get one of these machines. They are only sold in millions to get the cost down. So everything that's green on this map is countries that have agreed in the past, and if I could scroll to the right, you would notice Thailand over there, where just there was a military action that might have thrown OLPC back a bit, but that's the problem that you have when you deal with countries. But I won't talk too much about the education stuff. There's another lightning talk tomorrow, which is about hacking education, which is pretty cool. And these laptops are supposed to be used, for example, as a textbook. Printing textbooks is not exactly cheap, and they have a life expectancy of 5 years. So printing textbooks for 5 years is almost about $100, even so that this machine currently is a bit more expensive. It's about 100 euros, so we should rename the machine. We have a development environment running here, which does not work because I'm running an 800 by 600, I think. One of the cool things about the laptop is that it has a display that's 1200 by 900, and you can see the actual size. It's 200 dpi, so that's optimized for printing text in almost print quality. It's really sharp. You should take a look at it. The development environment it runs on simple Linux. I'm running Fedora here in an emulator, so you can just grab the disk image from a server. Laptop.org is the main URL for the project, where you can get involved. There's only open source software on that machine. There are one or two few parts still missing, but that's being worked on. So we invite everybody to join us. It's running a pretty simple Fedora Linux. It's got an Intel compatible processor. It's running X. Is it running now? Yes. It's running X. You have a Matchbox window manager and a new desktop environment called Sugar, which is actually implemented in Python using GTK and Cairo as a renderer. So it's really cool stuff. I think we can use a lot of help still. So if I press this button, you can see on this little screen pretty much the same that I have been running over here. And for example, this interface, which is not exactly that simple to see right now. Okay. This is the Sugar interface. There is a ring of applications that you can see here. You can change your zoom mode. So I'm zooming out now. So this is me and my friends in the mesh network. So these little ears here are actually Wi-Fi antenna. So we have a mesh node work in there. The software is cool. The hardware is very cool. You should take a look if you can up at the Wikimedia thing. And actually, I think we are giving away developer boards for this thing at this conference for a proposal. So go to the CCC website, the event website. There's a call for proposals for cool project idea for activities that you could do on this laptop. And I'm not sure if SJ is in this room. No, I don't think so. But he's up at the Wikimedia booth and will take these proposals or just send them. Okay, that's it.
It's too bad that we only just get started with these interesting things. I would like to see more of that. So where do we get in contact with you?
On the Lightning Talk page, there is a entry for with my email. Okay.
Are you around somewhere?
I'm only around here today. So if you meet me, just talk to me. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, danke. So, thank you for that. Next on the list is Peter Stuge. He will tell us about the Linux BIOS. And you're prepared? Connected? Good.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Linux BIOS. What is Linux BIOS? Linux BIOS is a minimal hardware initialization software required for Linux to boot. No, it isn't. It does the minimal hardware initialization required for Linux to boot. It does not offer legacy interrupt services. It started as a project at the LANL, Los Alamos National Laboratory, in '99. They have a lot of supercomputing stuff going on there. They have thousands of nodes. They don't want to do CMOS setup on thousands of nodes. They don't want keyboard error, press F1 to continue errors on thousands of nodes, so they decided to start developing an alternative. Version 1 of Linux BIOS had support for about 100 mainboards. Version 2, support for about 50. Version 3 is just starting since a couple of months ago. Vendors are making new boards much faster than we can add support for them in Linux BIOS for a number of reasons. What are the key features and what does the design look like? Linux BIOS is legacy free. There's nearly no assembly code in there because people are better at C code, and yeah, assembly is not that fun. Linux BIOS does its initialization things, and then it hands over to a payload, which can be any number of things. It can be Linux, which either is the final kernel that the system will be running off of. It can also be just an intermediate BIOS kernel, because Linux can, since a version back, execute another Linux kernel. Which means that the BIOS could use all available drivers in Linux to access the final boot kernel, the final system kernel. That means Wi-Fi, that means weird storage, InfiniBand, etc., etc. The payload can also be Grub2, it can be Philo. Philo is a small, simple bootloader developed to support booting from local media, because Grub2 wasn't there yet. I don't know what the current state is, but I still use Philo, it works fine. You can also use EtherBoot or GPXE to boot from network. AdLow is a project that combined with Box, I don't know if you're familiar with that, it's an emulator for the legacy interrupt services found in older BIOSes that can be used to boot legacy operating systems. Windows 2000 has been done. You can also use OpenFirmware as a payload, which is what the OLPC machine is using. Very fast booting. They need to work on that on the OLPC, obviously, because it's not there yet, but the record is 3 seconds from power on to login screen. Yeah, that's nice. all configuration is done from user space. There's no configuration utility in the